Scripture to consider before the news. Know therefore and understand, that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks, the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the Prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. The he referenced that will confirm a covenant with many for 1 week is, the Prince of the Covenant, and it is looking to be Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, home of Islam and its 2 great mosques. The deal from the Prince is coming fast to start the 70th week spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Now unto the news. Kosovo, Israel to formally establish diplomatic ties February 1st. Kosovo's foreign minister on Friday said a formal ceremony will be held next week to establish diplomatic ties with Israel, a historic moment in the Balkan country's history. Melisa Haradina Stubla said she and her Israeli counterpart Gabriel Ashkenazi would hold a virtual ceremony on February 1st. Recognition by Israel as one of the greatest achievements for Kosovo, coming at a key moment for us, thanks to the United States of America, our common and eternal ally, she said. The decision on mutual recognition between Kosovo and Israel was achieved last September at a summit of Kosovo-Serbia leaders at the White House in the presence of then-President Donald Trump. At the meeting, Belgrade also agreed to move its embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, something it hasn't done so far. The Trump administration recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital in late 2017 and moved the U.S. embassy there in May 2018. Washington has encouraged other countries to do the same but has been widely criticized by the Palestinians and many in Europe because the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains unresolved. Kosovo's parliament declared independence from Serbia in 2008, 9 years after NATO conducted a 78-day airstrike campaign against Serbia to stop a bloody crackdown against ethnic Albanians in Kosovo. Most Western nations have recognized Kosovo's independence, but Serbia and its allies Russia and China have not. The ongoing deadlock and Serbia's unwillingness to recognize Kosovo have kept tensions simmering and prevented full stabilization of the Balkan region after the bloody wars of the 1990s. In related news, under new U.S. leadership, UN chief sees "hope" for Mideast peace progress. Without mentioning Trump explicitly, Guterres says that previously, we were completely locked down in a situation in which there was no progress visible. Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said Thursday, there are reasons to hope for progress toward ending the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict after years of inaction. He said the United Nations will explore all initiatives to facilitate a true peace process, based on the two-state solution. Clearly referring to the former U.S. administration without naming then-President Donald Trump, the UN chief said, "We were completely locked down in a situation in which there was no progress visible." Guterres also made no mention of Tuesday's announcement by U.S. President Joe Biden's administration that it was restoring relations with the Palestinians and renewing aid to Palestinian refugees, a reversal of Trump's cutoff and a key element of its new support for a two-state solution. But the Secretary-General made clear that Biden's more even-handed approach opened the possibility of meetings of the Quartet of Middle East mediators, the US, UN, European Union and Russia, that were previously blocked, as well as broader peace efforts. "We have tried for a long time to make the Quartet meet, but we never had the agreement of all the members for that to be possible," Guterres told a press conference. "And we have tried to have inclusive other formulas, possible of an enlarged quartet with several other important players in the region, and unfortunately, this has not been possible until now. I think it became possible now," he said, but stressed that a peace process can only be successful if it is based on a two-state solution and all the international agreements that already exist in this regard. Guterres expressed hope that elections, in the state of Palestine, and elections in Israel, will also contribute to create a positive environment for the future of the peace process, and for the rights of the Palestinian people, namely, its right to self-determination and its right to independence, to be fully respected. The Palestinians have scheduled legislative elections on May 22 and presidential elections on July 31, and Israel will hold legislative elections on March 23. For more than 3 decades, the Palestinians have sought an independent state in the West Bank, Gaza and East Jerusalem, territories captured by Israel in the 1967 Six-Day War. Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005 but imposed a crippling blockade when the Palestinian terrorist group Hamas seized power from Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas's forces in 2007. Israel says the blockade is necessary to limit Hamas's ability to arm itself. Israel and Hamas have fought 3 major conflicts since 2008. There have been no substantive peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians in years, and the two sides are fiercely divided over the core issues of the conflict. At Tuesday's Security Council meeting, Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad Malki called for revival of the quartet and reiterated Abbas's call for an international peace conference that can signal a turning point in this conflict. He also expressed hope that the U.S. will play an important role in multilateral efforts for peace in the Middle East. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow is convinced that the quartet, working closely with both sides and Arab states, can play a very effective role. In support of Abbas's call for an international conference, Lavrov proposed holding a ministerial meeting this spring or summer with the quartet in Egypt, Jordan, United Arab Emirates and Bahrain as well as Saudi Arabia to analyze the current situation and assist in launching a dialogue between Israelis and Palestinians. Israel's UN ambassador Gilad Erdan said the government remains willing to make peace when there is a willing partner, but he accused Abbas of inciting violence. He said Abbas should come to the negotiating table, without making outrageous demands and not call for another pointless international conference. Former President Donald Trump's administration provided unprecedented support to Israel, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv, slashing financial assistance for the Palestinians and reversing course on the illegitimacy of Israeli settlements on land claimed by the Palestinians. The peace plan unveiled by Trump a year ago envisioned a disjointed Palestinian state that turned over key parts of the West Bank to Israel, siding with Israel on key contentious issues including borders and the status of Jerusalem and Jewish settlements. It was vehemently rejected by the Palestinians. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you can get notified whenever new Bible prophecy news videos are uploaded. Scripture to consider. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. The he which causes all will be the final pope and false prophet of the Holy Scriptures. This world is moving toward a mark in the right hand or forehead, and if you don't receive it, you will not be able to buy or sell. This next story is another pit stop on the way to the mark of the beast, which will be some type of vaccination bio-crypto combo. Watch. In other news, India proposes law to ban cryptocurrencies, create official digital currency. India plans to introduce a law to ban private cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and put in place a framework for an official digital currency to be issued by the central bank, according to a legislative agenda listed by the government. The law will create a facilitative framework for creation of the official digital currency to be issued by the Reserve Bank of India, RBI, said the agenda, published on the Lower House website on Friday. The legislation, listed for debate in the current parliamentary session, seeks to prohibit all private cryptocurrencies in India. However, it allows for certain exceptions to promote the underlying technology of cryptocurrency and its uses, the agenda said. In mid-2019, an Indian government panel recommended banning all private cryptocurrencies, with a jail term of up to 10 years and heavy fines for anyone dealing in digital currencies. The panel has, however, asked the government to consider the launch of an official government-backed digital currency in India, to function like bank notes, through the Reserve Bank of India. The RBI had in April 2018 ordered financial institutions to break off all ties with individuals or businesses dealing in virtual currency such as Bitcoin within 3 months. However, in March 2020, India's Supreme Court allowed banks to handle cryptocurrency transactions from exchanges and traders, overturning a central bank ban that dealt the thriving industry a major blow. Governments around the world have been looking into ways to regulate cryptocurrencies, but no major economy has taken the drastic step of placing a blanket ban on owning them, even though concern has been raised about the misuse of consumer data and its possible impact on the financial system. Lastly, amid Arab normalization, Israel should make peace with Palestinians. Ending the occupation and resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are firmly in Israel's national self-interest. Domestically, in a bid to add a few more mandates to his belt ahead of the upcoming election, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is spearheading the drive toward a new era of prosperity, integration and security in Jewish-Arab relations. Meanwhile, overseas, as part of the burgeoning Abraham Accords, an outpouring of warmth has been extended by Bibi to prominent regional Arab actors who have been lauded as new diplomatic, economic and cultural allies. Months prior to this, it was impossible to predict that formal annexation of the West Bank would be chucked out the window and that in its place Netanyahu would be embracing Gulf Arabs. Nor was it predictable that his former campaign rhetoric focused on vilifying Arab Israelis would be transformed into a serious effort to win the Arab vote. In both scenarios, the language of dialogue, friendship and partnership has replaced that of division and exclusion. So, if Arabs can become legitimate partners almost overnight, if a former adversary can be reconfigured as an ally in the pursuit of strategic interests, and if long-held prejudices can be set aside for the benefit of newfound cooperation, it begs the important question, what about our Arab neighbors next door, the Palestinians? Ending the occupation and resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are firmly in Israel's national self-interest. Instead, a seemingly comfortable strategy of conflict management is pursued as the status quo ticks on. Relegated to the fringes of the public debate and bumped to the bottom of governmental priorities, the lack of urgency is illustrated by the near absence in current election talk of any resolution to these issues. If Netanyahu can turn former adversaries into partners overnight as part of a strategy to pursue national interests, then the "no partner for peace" narrative that has hijacked the conversation for far too long and absolves us from engaging with the Palestinians must also be urgently revisited. This is especially true when ending the conflict is unquestionably in the interests and common good of both parties, and when the zone of possible agreement creates genuine room for dialogue and progress. The greatest achievement of any Israeli government will be forging a peace agreement with the Palestinians. For Netanyahu, it will bring him unprecedented internal support from his new local Arab partners, and even greater external backing from current and future regional players. If Jews and Arabs can dance together in the streets of Dubai, they can dance together here in Israel, the Prime Minister said last week in Nazareth. So, Bibi, why not make it a hat trick and extend the hand of peace to those who live next door in Ramallah? Know this, the land of Israel will be parted, as it is written in the book of Joel. I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my land. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And stay tuned to Watchman Report for more Bible prophecy news. To learn how to receive forgiveness of sins and get your name in the Book of Life, visit beingjustified.com today. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Tomorrow is not promised, make sure your eternal soul is being justified.